Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the dialogue program that we discuss about the current political situation in Ethiopia and around the world. Today, it's one of those programs that we have to do it. We were not planning to do any such a program, but since there's the current political situation in Ethiopia is getting basically explosive situation. We decided that numerous times we were in the community, and we decided that the joint program between myself and Atnafu, who directs the Amharic program, to discuss about this. Mr. Atnafu, welcome to the dialogue, and once again to the program. How you feel? What's going on? What's the current political situation in Ethiopia?
Thank you, Brother Yassin. I'm glad we are back to the session after the suspension of the program for a few months, I guess. So, yeah. The Ethiopian situation is in a very critical moment at this juncture, I believe. And this is a time that citizens, activists, politicians, and civil rights leaders talk about how we can get out of this mess, because I believe we are at the existential threat of our people in the country in large. If you see, we can analyze it from region to region. The degree and intensity is different, but if you see overall situation of Ethiopia, generally it is genocidal, ethnically targeted violence in every region that you can see at this moment, which that makes it very dangerous because it's ethnically driven, it's genocidal, means that one group of people are trying to exterminate the other from the right to exist based on their identity, if they are Amhara, Tigray, or something else. So this genocide threat is not equally divided or proportionally said, but there are a certain group of the Ethiopian people who have been suffering for so long, like ethnic Amhara. And after the war of the Tigray 2 years ago, the Tigrayans are also facing the same threat at this juncture. And if you see every region, they have their own genocidal threats. I don't think anybody is immune from this threat at this juncture.
So, Atnafu, before we move forward, let's define what is genocide.
Well, genocide is when a certain group of people are targeted to be exterminated based on their ethnic group or ethnicity or nationality or belief, which is religion, or country of origin and the like. On the literature of genocide, it's not only killing some group of people, but if there is an intent means if you are conspiring to dismember a certain group of people based on who they are, that's genocide. And anybody who is conspiring, even if they don't kill or knowingly are not able to stop it, especially if that's a government official, they will be charged on genocide in the International Tribune. That I think it was signed at the Genocide Convention in 1948, and it was implemented in 1951 by the United Nations. I think Ethiopia is a signatory, and it's a matter of time when everybody who is participated or intended to destroy one group of people based on in any form are going to be charged or be accountable for that.
So this is serious allegation that we are saying, and genocide. Some people take it to be like the Rwanda genocide or what happened to the Holocaust. That's things that come up to people's mind. But if we are Is there ethnic cleansing that's happening in Ethiopia at this stage?
Definitely, yes. It is.
So,
What do you call it? What happened in Oromia last Saturday when, depending whom you talk, and it's not independently verified, but the number of people who were killed, massacred in mass of what? 5 villages, um, densely populated 5 villages, or entirely dismembered. The only people who were survived were those people who were not at their home during that day, who survived. Other than that, it's believed that between 600, the least, and 3,000 people already have been killed. And
so the people that who are not familiar with the international community,
when you see
yeah,
these people, they are all Amharas. It's not based on their religion. Unfortunately, the majority of them are Muslims.
Muslims, yeah.
Yeah, Muslims. You cannot say it was against Orthodox or Christianity or something like that. It is based on who they are. These people were um, taken to Wallaga during the drought, during the drought time, from Wollo area. These are Wollo Amharas, and they were targeted because they are Amharas, period. So when genocide is not the number of people who are killed, genocide is the intent. Even if it is one person, if the intention is targeting that person because of who he is or what he believes in or where he is from, that's genocide, according to the literature on the definition of the
Point well taken. But the people right now we're talking about in Walaga area, uh, the government say that it's the oil left who did this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we heard it.
And then we have a press release that came from the oil left themselves, who say that we are not the one that who responsible for these killings.
Yes.
So who commit this genocide or this massacre?
Well, I read, actually, I requested the press release from Ola. You remember the Jerenya, whom we interviewed him once in our program.
Yeah.
I texted him to send me the press release because I heard that they denied it. Okay, he sent me the press release. I read it, and they said that there is no reason to commit such a crime. Such a crime was committed by the government militia, the local government militia, and the government itself. That's what they said. And the government is saying that this was committed by Ola or OLF. No matter who did that, the intention is, whoever did that, the intention is to eliminate Amaras from that area, period. But who did that and who should be accountable for these atrocities, then there should be an independent investigation to figure out who did that, because there are people who are still alive. I heard that one guy from who was a survivor was interviewed by BBC, and he said, we called the local Warada administration that our people are being massacred, and the answer was, what are you doing there? You better leave that area and go to wherever you come from if you want to be safe. That's what he said, the Warada administrator. When you see this, there's a complicity of the government. No matter who did it, the complicity of the government, the accountability comes to the government. The local government is obliged to secure the safety of the minority who are living within their community. If they fail to do it, it doesn't matter Ola did it, it doesn't matter somebody who is extreme did it, the government is responsible for that. The first responsible body is the local government, then the federal government, who failed to take action on those officials who are repeatedly ignoring such atrocities in that region.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, one of the reasons that today we decided to do this is that this become normal. The people in Ethiopia, they become numb the government, or they're not aware of it. The lives of Ethiopians are not, it's becoming meaningless, and we have seen Hundreds of Ethiopians been killed, died for whatever reason. This was just this Saturday.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago was Gambela.
Yes. Korean.
3 weeks ago was the Amphar Somali
Mhm.
region, the Amphar militia or Amphar League police attack unarmed Somalis and displaced them. Uh, what is happening to the conscience of those people in this country? What is wrong? Where and why the prime minister is not doing what he's supposed to do and become the safeguard of the people? So where the buck stops where?
Well, to be honest with you, when the issue of accountability comes, the accountability should start from the top, which is the prime minister of Ethiopia and his cabinet. And then it goes down to the regional presidents, regional cabinets, and uh,
To the
people's
Kabbalah level.
of whole regions and the Kabbalists and others. This thing has been happening. You rightly said, it's becoming normal now for Ethiopians to see mass graves. Imagine one family member, 12 people perished in one day from just a single family. Imagine that is your family, that's my family. In fact, they are our family. These people are Ethiopians, and they are human beings. Even if they are Ethiopians, these are human beings. Children as little as 2 days was killed. Women who were nursing were killed with their children. And when you see these atrocities, I sometimes ask myself, is this the country whom I grew up, lived, served in the military and in every thing? I worked everywhere. I know every community, and I never experienced this type of hatred and gruesomeness of the people. They don't sense it when they kill people, when they throw it to the fire, when they throw it from the car and kill him on the street. Is this Ethiopia? We know. There is some sort of madness. To be honest with you, this was the ethnic politics that was planted since 1983 that we're facing the reality now. And the problem is people thought this change, which was started 2018, will bring the settlement of these atrocities in that country. But what happened instead? In the last 4 years, we probably seen more people killed in Ethiopia than the whole 27 years of the Oyane time. Is that what we were looking for, a change? And why is that? People were giving a benefit of the doubt to the current administration. First, they were saying that he was, he inherited the problem. He needs time to fix it. The people gave him the benefit of the doubt. And they said, okay, there is no legitimacy now because they are not elected. They gave him their voices, reluctantly or not. They still the election or not. They assume that they are elected. Okay, they get the legitimacy. And where is the governance? Where is? You don't see any hint of responsibility of governance in Ethiopia this time. It's not only the genocide, it's not only the rule of law, it's the corruption, it is felt. This prime minister, this regime failed the country dominantly, and I think this is a time that people need to be serious, and they don't have to beg their rights. They need to earn it, they need to get their rights by their own blood, because they are being killed anyway. But at least some of their children, some of their relatives has to be exist, and the country has to continue. And instead of just sitting and watching their turn until somebody comes in and slaughter them. So I think there is something wrong. I cannot just speculate what it is, but there is a conspiracy. There is, these people are trying to gain something out of the killings of the people, political gain. I don't know how they think. And if somebody thinks like that, the cabinet members, the House representatives, whom they say they represent people, what are they doing? Today, there was a meeting for the House of Representatives. One of the Amara opposition party leader raised his hand and he said, there is a problem that in the country that I would like to get the attention of this body. The Speaker of the House rejected that idea. He was just warning him, shut up. They don't want even to listen. People are dead. They don't think that these are people. They don't think that they represent the people. These are a bunch of idiots, I'm sorry to say it, that they feel that they are representing people, but they don't care for the lives of their people, their brothers and sisters, no matter what ethnic it could be. I wept when I see a Tigrayan guy when he was burned alive in Matakal area by the government security forces. I wept. I'm not a Tigray, but that's a human being. That's a fellow human being, burned alive. Imagine if that was you, burned alive, people laughing how you are suffering in that heat. So, and nobody is accountable. Nobody is charged for that.
Yeah. So let's just stick to that one. There was another video, because we don't want to show all that for here, but there was another video right before this one that someone released.
Yeah.
And there was a killing. Then the government claimed it was the OLF who did this. But that video, the Ethiopian human rights already document that incident. Can you talk about that?
It's not the OLF. They said it's Fano.
It's Fano, yeah. Correction.
That's what they said. But yeah. Go ahead, finish it.
No, the video was, if I set the scene, was people were in a bus, take out from the bus.
In a truck.
And a bus and a truck, both.
Yeah.
So, and then there was a shooting, there was killing, right. And people were just killed broad daylight. And that incident is an incident that's been documented by the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission.
Right. That's what they said. Yeah, I read that.
And what did the Ethiopian Human Rights say about that video?
But essentially, what they said was this happened, I think, in February. No, it's March, I think, in March of this year.
Yeah, late February, March.
Late February or March. And the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission already documented. They said they could documented this atrocity. And this was committed by the government forces. When they say the government forces, I don't know whether it is the local government, which is Amara Special Force or a militia, I don't know, or the federal forces. But what they said is they already documented this report and given to the concerned authorities to investigate independently and make accountable who perpetrated this atrocity. They did that documentation. But how did this thing leaked now when it was happened like 2-3 months ago is a question. Someone already said it was leaked by the government intentionally to ignite ethnic violence. Imagine, before that video was released, a week ago, the Prime Minister had a meeting with the House of Representatives and has to respond to the questions as he was asked. What most of his speech during that day was genocidal motivational speech, I could say.
That's a big accusation.
Yeah, it's big, but it's live. You can go and check it. What he said was the Oromo haters in Addis Ababa were against the Oromia national emblem should not be happened in the schools of Addis Ababa. He was shaking like that. What message was he sending? Number one, Addis Ababa is the capital city of Ethiopia. It's not the capital city. At least it's a chartered city that is nominally administering itself and is the home of every ethnic group, including Oromos, Amhara, Somalis, and others. In fact, in Addis Ababa, the Oromos are minority. If you see the residents of Addis Ababa, they are minority. And you don't try to enforce your emblem, your national emblem, your language, or whatever it is, to anybody without their will. You don't have the right to do it. You can use it in Oromia region. That's your right. But
Yeah.
him
So-
as a prime minister, instead of what he said was Oromo haters, who they think they can live in Ethiopia by hating Oromo. That's what he said. That means you cannot live in Ethiopia if you hate Oromo. That's the message he sent to his supporters. And next time, and there are other things too, he tried to make a division between Fano and the defense forces. He accused the Fano, killed the defense forces to take the army, the Black Kalashnikov. That's what he said. So this was a genocidal, very divisive statement that the prime minister did in that parliamentary inquiry. And after 2-3 days, this thing was released. I think it was released probably by somebody from the government to incite violence between Amhara and Oromo. But I'm not saying that if that is done by Amhara in any way, whether it is a federal force or local force, they should be accountable. That's the government function, to hunt those people who did that atrocity, those people who killed people from the truck or the bus and indiscriminately kill them. That's no trust. Whoever did that, be accountable.
But how right now? I know that this other issue is very hot issue, and it's a political wedge that both sides are using into creating instability in the capital city. But neutrality of Addis Ababa is something that the only way Ethiopia can survive. So then, but moving to the direction of our main topic, can Ethiopia survive, knowing the massacres that's happening right now? And if Ethiopia did not survive, can people live peacefully side by side?
Well, that's a good question, and but it's not easy to answer.
Then we're going to go back
we
to
have
our
to face the reality, too. We have to face the reality. If the current status quo continues without any change, I don't believe Ethiopia will survive. When you see it's sad reality, because what's going on? Let's check what's going on in Ethiopia now. It's not only the war. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. There is no tourism because of the security of the country. There's no foreign currency generation, again, because of the security and the diplomatic chaos that the government created with the West and others. They're not getting the luxury of getting assistance from the European Union. or the US, the textile industry, which you're exporting to, and others exporting to America, is already banned. The government officials cannot travel to the main, to US. And this will continue if the status quo changes. Probably when we see these genocidal activities in Ethiopia, probably other actions will follow too. We'll fight, other actions will follow too. And when this happens, how could 120 million people survive in this situation? The factories are producing under their capacity because of the foreign currency. They cannot import inputs that are essential to produce items, consumer goods.
The farmers as
The
well.
farmers are unable to get the fertilizers. And if they are not getting fertilizers, since already the land already started adapting with these artificial fertilizers, it's very hard to get any yield from your land without using fertilizer in rural areas. And the farmers are not farming, most of them, because of the security situation. And the government itself is creating chaos by just producing violence in a peaceful area like Gojam, who are farming extra yields for many of the country. Now the farmers are obstructed by the invasion of the federal forces, the invasion of its own local forces in the name of Fano and others, which they never created any violence in that area. You never heard that the roads are blocked in that
To that
area?
point, to that point,
Yeah.
people need to, the Ethiopians and the international community need to understand, Gojam is the basket of what?
Teff, grain, butter, milk, honey, you name it, any major consumer foods.
So without Gojam, the farmers producing stuff, Ethiopia cannot survive.
I don't believe so. Especially the Addis Ababa people cannot survive without Gojam. Teff. Because teff is produced in Oromia region too. But in masses, all the Gojam farmers are farming teff, grains, honey, and other stuff. And imagine that part of the world, when they come to the southern regions, believing that is their country and get some land, that's very overpopulated area. And they don't have enough land. The people are hardworking, but they don't have enough land. And some of them, that's why migrate to south or Oromia region and excavating unused land, believing that, and they mix up with the community and live peacefully. But due to this ethnic policy and politics, these are the people who are being killed everywhere now, including Matakal area, Benshangul Gumuz area, and others, because that's the most arable land and idle land that can be farmed. And this is very, it's a saying that I studied economics in Addis Ababa University, and I read a lot of research in the Ethiopian economy, which part of the country is produced. Like Oromia is popular for coffee, right? And chat. So Amhara, I know that.
That's why all the Amharas right now eat chat.
Surrounding Addis Ababa, Adama, and area, the Adama teff is popular. They produce teff too, especially the Shua Oromos, and they produce teff. But the majority of the products are produced there. I'm not saying that this is only Gojam that produces.
No, I'm just, what we're saying is that right now we always talk about Ukraine. Ukraine is not the only country that produces grain and all
That's
that.
what it is said when I was in the country. We always say Gojam is Ukraine of Ethiopia. When Ukraine was under the Soviet Union, there was saying that, I was educated in Kiev. I don't know whether I told you or not, in Ukraine during the Soviet era. So it was the grain basket of the Soviet Union back then, even now, right? Even the
Yeah.
world at this moment. So the same was said in Ethiopia, that Gojam is a breadbasket of the Ethiopia, because the
So
surplus
if
product.
the
Most of the
farmers,
farmers are subsistence farmers. You only take your extra yield to the market, right? So
yeah,
that people in the town who are not farming can buy and consume it, right? So that's what I mean. So it's over the subsistence that the Gojam farmers have been farming for many years traditionally. So that's
but
where
this
now the
year,
government is focusing to
this
displace
year, if they cannot do the farming, if they cannot get the fertilization, uh, it will affect
the nation.
the year,
Yes,
and the
expect
inflation
drought,
that
expect famine next year.
that's
If the,
where I'm
the
going
Gojam
with.
farmers are not farming now, in Sane, this they call it the Sane is the most expensive month for Gojam
Yeah.
farmers. I grew up in the rural area. I know these people. I know how they work. In Sane, that's the most expensive labor time for the Gojam farmers is June. In June, his own government waged war in Gojam, which was peaceful. No war so far. The TPLF likely didn't get there, and the Ola and other extremists, they try to do something, they will always be repelled. But there is no any significant war that happened so far in Gojam area, except now by its own government. By its just underline this, by its own government, intentionally. That's what I'm telling you.
So
So
that's
it's where we are.
Gojam area, Gojam, and we know that in Oromia there was Abugeras that's been killed. The war in
Yeah.
Oromia is very intensified. So the idea that right now what we are trying to show people and predict is the pattern is just keep escalating and keep
Mhm.
escalating. It was killings from small tribes. There was a war that between Oromo and Somalis in certain areas, the borders, the Afar. I remember that this video that we have seen it remind me that when I was in Addis, that people say that you cannot drive from Jijiga to Addis Ababa because between you if I drive between Somali
Jijiga and
border to
Redoa.
Oromo border,
Jijiga and Redoa even. Can you
yeah,
drive?
Dirdaba, yeah, Dirdaba. When I drove to
Yeah.
Dirdaba, we have to have a Dirdaba tag car that we can drive with it because if we take any other car, we're being killed. That's what they told me,
The
and
registration, the tag.
the tag registration. It
So
has to be that's
Oro.
not the
It has to
Somali
be
read the
Oro.
tag. It
Okay.
has to be the
Uh,
Dirdaba or Oromiya tag. Otherwise, we will be killed. Even though I had a security guard that who was armed, that who was protecting me, but at the same time, we could not unless we get out of the car. So I'm not going to talk about that because that it was. But what I'm saying is that remind me and other people that I know that who've been taken out from their car and beaten up and all that, and some been killed. We know that, and even sheikhs that's been killed who are trying to negotiate. Uh, but this is starts small and now it's escalating it, and now we are to the point that number one, 2 3 years ago the economy we were not worried about it. Now the economy is getting worse. Now, certain areas, someone was telling me the other day in Jijiga, he said that at night he doesn't want to go to certain area because they avoid because there's gangs and all that's there, and they're afraid that they've been robbed. The more, so a year from today or 6 months from today, if the farmers are not farming, if the inflation the way it's going is going higher, and at the same time the rhetoric of not reconciliatory, it's keep going, then Ethiopia is not the Ethiopia that we will know in a 6 months,
Yeah. Yeah.
in a year period.
Mhm.
So now the question is, what can we do? What should we do? Where we know where we're going. We are going over the cliff.
True.
We're going to start number one, that is it not the time, first of all, for all these massacres that's happening, that we have international investigators or independent investigators that who does not have any affiliation with the government's talking points or government side to be part of this? Or if that's not happen, what message are we sending to this government? Because this is not acceptable. First of all, well, from my where I'm sitting, somebody who's a human rights activist, civil rights, who demonstrated the lynching of black people in the U.S. and everywhere else,
Mhm.
who understands that the human life has a value. When I see those kind of stuff, I don't sleep. Some people say that, oh, Yasin, why do you care about what's happening in the Amhara region or the Oromo region? The Somali region is peaceful, which is not. Let's be clear. The Somali region is not peaceful. There is a large number of displaced
Even if it
Somalis.
is just peaceful, it's a matter of time until it gets there. That's
It,
why we need to be concerned to when there is injustice anywhere, it's
there's no
affecting
justice.
everybody. So we need to
Exactly.
understand that. You cannot say, or if some community members, be it Somalis or Amharas or Oromos or Tigres, for that matter, if they say that, okay, when the Amharas are being massacred, it's not us. Be assured that the next turn
What
is
are we
yours.
talking about? We're talking about even gun balance.
Nobody is going to be immune from this.
Even the
Nobody.
gun balance with
Everybody.
what happened is
Everybody. It's
we
a
have
matter
done.
of time until they get it. They
So
are getting it
we
already.
it's everywhere. We agreed on that. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. But right now there are human rights activists that who supports the prime minister, which I understand. You support the prime minister and his government, but who is accountable is one thing. But how we need to build a public confidence, and we want this government as soon as possible. Some heads need to roll. We need some resignations. We need some people that who has to be accountable. Then we need an independent investigation that brings to the truth of who did this and why. So this will not be repeated again. That's number one, from my perspective. If, I don't know if you agree on that, but that is the only thing that I can think of it. Immediate action from the government and the international community already condemned.
Yeah.
But whoever is silent, whoever looks away, whether it is the regional administrations, whether it is the cabinet ministers, whether it is the prime minister or the president, then under the genocide rule or agreement that Ethiopia signed, every one of them is accountable.
True.
Every one of them is accountable. And they cannot get away with this because until today, the Germans who has committed the Holocaust is being hunted
True.
and they cannot hide. Maybe 1 or 2 years they can hide, 3 years they can hide. But this is something that we have to draw the line, say that enough is enough. We need to change this attitude. We need to make sure that Ethiopian lives matters, whether it is Amhara, Somali, Oromo, or Afar. It doesn't matter. But
True.
this cannot
Mhm.
continue. This message has to be loud and clear to everyone because
Yeah, yeah,
as,
Yasin, yeah, you brought a very good point. Uh, One thing we have already observed from the current administration, the Ethiopian administration, is their ability to divide and rule us. When they were waging war against the Tigray region, they managed to get the support of Amharas, Oromos, Somalis, and others, propagating that it was to the TPLF already started the war. They attacked our defense forces, blah, 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 blah. They made it up, most of it, and they make the people to believe them. And they get a unwavering support from almost everybody. But eventually, am I on the air? You see? But eventually, what we have learned through time is you and me were talking about it. You and me were against the war when it started, if you remember that. And some of my friends were saying at NAFU, you were against the PLF. You have been struggling against the PLF throughout. We know you, but what happened? You don't want them to be defeated? Well, my point was, that's not the case. Are we, or this government is not going to win the war, number two. Winning in a sense, the problem is politics. It's not what they told us to the people. It's politics, it's power. It's power struggle. Otherwise, in terms of ideology, there is no any distinction between the current government and TPLF. Nothing. Still ethnic politics, still the same ideology. Also, they don't call it, they don't name it, but the same. And the problem was power struggle. That has to be resolved through negotiation, not fighting. And these guys have a broader agenda than TPLF. Watch them. Once they crash the TPLF, the next will be Amhara. I told them. And you told me too, honestly. Look at what happened now with Amhara. They invaded Amhara now. They confiscated the arms when they tried to organize themselves and defend themselves, because the Amhara people understood after the invasion of the TPLF in North Wallo, South Wallo, North Shoa, and North Gondar, they realized that we thought the government is capable of defending us. So if it is on us, we need to organize ourselves and defend our community. That's what they did. They didn't violate anything. They didn't raise any political issue. They organized themselves, armed themselves, trained themselves to defend their community. But now the government makes the number one threat for security threat for the country is Fano and the People's Militia of Amhara. Guess what? When they try to disarm, invade the Amhara area, they're not disarming only what they call Fano. They arrested every activist. They arrested even the commanders, the ex-commanders of the Amhara Special Forces, the general. They kidnapped him from Addis Ababa, their own general, the Ethiopian government general. They kidnapped him from while he was driving his car. Put black things on his face, put it in a, took him to the Debre Zeit and send him to Amhara region to be arrested. Their own general. That's the Ethiopian general. Look. So this guy is not in the bush. This is home. He's driving his car in Addis Ababa city. If they suspect him for any crime, they could call him through the court system and charge him legally. They kidnap him. So they are acting not as a government. They are acting as terrorists themselves. That's what complicates everything.
I'm going to add more complication to this conversation. I'm going to add to TBLF. The TBLF right now, we know Ethiopia is in winter right now. And last time the war was June, that time, that's the time that the TBLF likes to wage a war.
Mm-hmm.
So TBLF is going to go to war again, even though their negotiation is not been expedited, and a lot of concessions is not being given to TBLF. My sources are telling me that there will be a war
Again, yeah.
very soon, big
Possible.
time TBLF, and
Well,
this time some of the Amharas that who've been fighting before might not fight against them.
well, that's what if you when we see this, I started laughing because their own government, sadly, not only the federal government, the Amhara regional government itself became a puppet of this federal government and allowed these atrocities to be conducted in the Amhara region. Shame on them. That's my birthplace. That's my family members, that the community I know that are suffering now. For any crime, they never did it, they never told it. It's a peace-loving area. They waged war against their own people. While, imagine, Sudan, a foreign country, invaded part of Amara. Until now, for the last 3 years, they occupy your land. The TPLF, also the problem could be unfairly dealt with the federal government, and they unfairly also blamed Amharas for everything Abiy did. They consider Abiy is a puppet of Amhara, which is wrong. I have been telling them in any event that I get any Tigrayan friend, I feel sorry for what happened to them, but they wrongly identified Abiy to be the ally of Amhara. I was telling them before, I'm telling them now. He is not a friend of Tigray or Amhara. I don't think even he's a friend of Oromos. Honestly, I don't think he's a friend of anybody in Ethiopia. For him, what he cares is his palace. As long as you help him to stay a little bit of time, he will make you a friend. He will do everything, anything, to any community. I feel ashamed now when the Tigrayans and Amharas see each other as enemy, while they had a very long 1,000 years of shared history of building up this nation. And one group now considers like existential threat for themselves. Amhara thinks that that's the case now. It started from the TPLF, I know that for sure. But the people at least should have been discussed and resolved their differences. How could you be enemies for a piece of land, a piece of property, real estate, while you have a shared history and live together for thousands of years? It's shame on us. We've been used, both communities, but it doesn't mean that we need to be against anybody in the South too. Oromos, we are mixed up with every ethnicity. We are brothers. We share a lot of things. Yes, there could be ugly history in our time, past time, even now. Any nation is built up like this, be it America, be it Europe, anywhere. There has been injustices, but fix it, move on, live together. You raised at some point that if we cannot survive together, a separation will be a solution. I wish it is, but I don't think it is a solution, honestly.
So I know that's not the solution, but why? Why is not the solution? Is the
because we shared a lot of things together. Look, why is Oromia invading Gambela? the Oromia extremists invading Gambela. They feel that area belongs to them. Okay, why they are involved in? They had a brutal fighting with your own community in Somalia. They claim some lands from Somalia. The Somalis claim from Oromia. They claim from Afars. Amaras claim a lot of uh, territories from its neighbors, unreasonably taken from it. 47% of the Gojam land is taken by unreasonably and illegally taken to Matakal, to Beshangul Kulle. All this is contested, and who is going to be accepting the boundaries, the internal boundaries that you see now, like it's coming as a zigzag. When you have a zigzag tying from north to south, come down, there are other communities living by your side. Could be southern nations and nationalities, could be Amaras, could be Tigris, could be Afar. And we share a lot of values. Across the street could be Afars, across the street could be Amara or Somali. When we say that, okay, we get separated, we may fight for those lands.
So
You know what I mean?
Separation will not bring peace.
Separation, look, it's not only the territory, because of the territory, it is because our fabric, our relationship. There are probably 30-40% of our people are mixed. It's very hard to get a pure Amara, pure Oromo, pure Tigray, pure Somali, maybe.
No, we got pure Somalis. Don't worry, man.
Yeah, I don't worry about that because I lived there. You guys have, even if you guys having the same religion, the same language, the same culture, distinctly, you don't mix up with anything. You still, because of the clan issue, you still
will have a problem.
Right,
of
you
course.
have a problem, right?
So, okay, we know this is politics. Let's just put that thing simply, okay? And the whole problem of Ethiopia was unfair institution. The institution was the problem continuously for generations, and to, you know how I honestly say this, because when you see Ethiopians each other abroad, they always come together and they're always brothers. They always share stuff, and no matter where you came from, but when it becomes when it politicizes the issue of nation and nationalities, and the way the nation and nationality they politicize is, I'll give you an example. When there's a peace, when there is the shared commonality, everybody celebrates together. All suddenly, it becomes a border issue. Everything changes. Even though the country people live same country, but it's still this dispute of border issues. So these border issues that exist when we are quote unquote one country is going to be more problematic when we become when there's and what will happen. This is what worries me. This is why we are having this conversation, and we need to go back to this point. The massacres and the killings that's happening, it's not happening in the middle of the cities. It's happening in the border areas where groups are one way or another either immigrated or there's a claim or people live together. For example, Afar Somali region, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, was non-stop war going on, non-stop. Not the Leopolis of the Somalis were not defending the Somalis, but the people that were killing the Somalis were the Leopolis of the Afar. And the people who were defending themselves were the Isa, the Isa nomads. It's not comparable. And there's so much displaced people, and it makes me mad that the one time, you know what he say, They said the Afar said that Al Shabaab came and fight with us.
Yeah.
That's what they say on national TV. So coming back to this point, if we're gonna live together, because it's almost an hour, we gotta cut it off. If we are gonna live together, if we want to, if Ethiopia, the question is, can Ethiopia survive? The only way that I see can Ethiopia survive is, number one, people that who commit these crimes, they must be accountable.
True.
Everyone who's responsible for it either has to go to jail or they need to be resigned. They cannot continue, because the only way this kind of stuff happens is that with immunity, so that people who are in charge, they, if you are a thief and you stole something, if you see somebody else stealing it, you look, you're gonna look the other way. You're not gonna say, "Oh, that's normal." That's what you say. So if these people get used to this killing, normalization of this killing, if it continues, they've been seeing it. They're not gonna stop these killings themselves, because they were there. So from the top, I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna say it a lot. From starting from the prime minister all the way to the police commissioner, and every regional president is responsible what's happening, whether they like it or not, and they must be accountable for it. And we need an independent investigation that investigates every region where it's happening, and then document it, and then they have to be accountable. That's where I'm going to conclude, because last 3 days was driving me crazy, and sometimes I could not even sleep when I saw what was happening, and lack of inhumanity that's spreading in that country. Your turn, Nafu.
Yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, some of us, you and me, especially since we know each other more than 16 years ago, we have been involved on these human rights issues. We're so sensitive when we see an innocent man is abused or killed. Uh, for that matter, not only in my country, wherever it is, even where I live here, I just cannot pass if I see something is happening to anybody. I intervene the moment I
I
can.
know.
You know me. You know me how we sued the city of Atlanta when they abused some taxi drivers years ago, you and me, and straighten up everything, stopped every abuse. So it's our DNA, and some of unfortunately some of our fellow Ethiopians, um, they they care less for this. That's what it gives the immunity for the government officials and abusers to continue doing the same thing without any accountability in that country. And we need to stop that. The people has to be engaged, whether it is in Ethiopia or those of us who live outside Ethiopia, whether regardless of what ethnicity we have, we need to come up together and stand together condemning such atrocities, whoever did it, and which community is attacked. It doesn't matter whether it is Tigray or Afar or Somali. If there is injustice, it's injustice. We need to act and condemn. And I remember, our friend Obang always says that humanity first. Humanity first. That's true. That's humanity is first. We are children of God. We may have differences in culture, religion, or whatever it is. And me and you are living in a foreign country peacefully. If my right is violated, I face it and I fight it back. And where I live here, I'm not going to give up because I'm black or I'm from Africa. I did it several times when some nonsense tried to violate my rights. And I think we Ethiopians need to stop our silence and stand for the rights. for human rights. And unless we do it, unfortunately, this thing will continue.
It
And
is continued.
yeah, it's
And
continue. So the first thing we need to do now is we urge this government has to resign, honestly. All this massacre, all these people perished in 2011 alone, 3,800 people, Amharas alone, were being killed for ethnic violence. You count it. If you go to Tigray, it's probably 500,000, close to 500,000. Some international news agencies are reporting dead in the war, and because of the siege and the hunger and lack of medication and everything. Why? What for? Are these people not our brothers and sisters? Should we say, okay, let them die? Because some people, some policymakers made a bad choice. To some extent, I'm telling you, in my Facebook, once I wrote, the Tigrayans were right when they rejected Abiy because the Hamaras opened their door and accepted Abiy. What did they get? I wrote that. What did they get? Now they are being invaded. The Hamara have been invaded and betrayed. So that means that the Tigrayans were right when they rejected that illegal deconstruction of the party was not right to their sense.
yeah,
That's what
before
I say.
you go into that, because I wanna
Yeah,
hammer to this point,
yeah,
because right now the Tigrayan individuals have suffered within Ethiopia, even though if they were not supporting TPLF.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
a lot of them that not because everyone that who's Tigray become suspicious, or somebody who's are an enemy of the government just because of their ethnicity.
right.
Okay, there was a lot of Tigrays that who died in the Amhara region, but as well they kill a lot of Amharas. If we're talking about numbers, we say the Rwanda 800,000 people died that genocide, but a lot of people are arguing equal number of people died or
Even
or
more. You
more.
never know. Mhm.
So in terms of displaced, we know that within Ethiopia right now over 5 million people are displaced, if not more. So in conclusion, we are in the wrong direction,
Yes,
and history will not forgive us if we do not speak up now and mark our concern. And for that, tonight was just saying that enough is enough. We are going the wrong direction. This government has failed the people that they need to protect, and it's time for a new direction. Whether the prime minister stays or leaves, it's up to the people.
true.
It's up to the people, and it's time for us sincerely say this we cannot continue, and this lip service we cannot. We're not going to say that, okay, we don't want to have a vacuum or lack of power, but we want to make sure that the killings and the
Has to
safety of
stop.
the
Yeah,
people has to be prioritized.
that's
So
true.
that's where I'm going to end up.
When you say humanity, that's what it is. It's not about boundaries. It's not about territories. It's not about material issues. It's about human life, and we should care for everybody. And Ethiopia has a history of managing its own problem without being failed several times. Its people. I think it is the resilience of its people that makes it survive for the last 4 years, even being massacred like this. I don't think any country other than Ethiopia could shoulder such atrocity and survive. It could have been a whole blown up Rwanda like genocide and civil war. but it didn't happen wholly so far, but we are heading towards
But
that.
this is the dilemma that we're having right
Yes,
now.
sir.
If 1,000 people died, or even 500 people, the flags need to be down. The mourning has to be happening. The investigation has to be. Everybody's supposed to be crying, but you see Ethiopian TV, and you think that everything is normal.
No, they were planting trees in Addis Ababa. It's beyond normal. The prime minister, the deputy prime minister, all his cabinets and high officials, they were in a green sofa, in a green environment. Probably they spent billions of dollars to decorate that area to look like that he is a green uh, guy and planting trees while he's doesn't care for the killing of human lives. And
Sad.
this
Very
is
sad.
unacceptable. What the
Trees have
parliament did
more
today,
value than humans. Trees
what
have
the
more value.
parliament did today is
Mhm.
unacceptable. That showed to the Ethiopian people that they don't care for the killings of Amara. That's what all the Amara representatives should have boycotted that. The Aben, four guys, thankfully, great guys, they walk out of the parliament protesting that. Only four Aben elected guys. The remainders, the PP Amara and others, they were clamping for the house, the Speaker of the House.
Okay, but let's be clear,
So,
Atnafu.
you
Let's be
know,
clear. One thing that is, we know the wind is changing in Ethiopia. We know people are becoming more courageous. They're
yeah,
speaking up publicly.
they are.
As you know, there's some singers that who did amazing songs about right now the resistance. Honest to God, the resistance started, whether you know it or not.
Yeah,
Those who are watching, but the politicians is what we are warning for right now, and
I'm
the
all
the
listening.
message we are sending is
Mm.
it's not too late. It's time for correct correct your direction that you're going, and make sure that you choose the right path, because you are only a guardian of those seats in a short period of time. Whether death will come tomorrow or the day after, you don't know. But history will not forgive you. Atnafu, I'll give you
That's,
the last word.
yeah, that's a good message. That same message I would like to pass if they listen is power and authority is always a big deal for Africans because it's the source of everything. It's a source of wealth, uh, a source of respect, that you could be respected by doing the right thing. This is something that history will never excuse you while so many people are being killed under your watch. The list that we are expecting now is the regional leaders, the president of the Oromia region should be the first to be accountable for what happened in Western Walaga today. And it should go as deep down as the Kabale leaders, the Oreda leaders, the zone leaders, the people of the security guys, the police force, Oromia Liu force, special force. What were they doing while 3,000 innocent people and children and women were massacred, slaughtered? And same thing happened 2 years ago, if you remember, in Zuwai area and Shashamane.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, President Shimalis was president of Oromia back then too. He is still now. A lot of people were massacred and buried in mass grave in Benshangul Kulul area. The president, Mr. Al-Shari, has been in power back then. He is still in power. No accountability. We are demanding accountability now. And we'll never sleep until all those people who are responsible for such atrocities against innocent people are facing justice. This is the message I have. And we Ethiopians, regardless of our ethnicity, our religion, we need to come in together and demand in unity the killings has to be stopped. And these people are fighting and killing each other for power. Power is for the people's representative, true people's representative. Let each Kabbalah and city elect democratically the elders, the people they trust, come together, discuss and decide the fate of Ethiopia. They don't want to live together, be it. But don't kill people. If you think that is a way out, be it. But don't kill people. Just come up together, negotiate, and find the solution for the country, the future of the country, the fate of the country, democratically, in a civilized manner. The world is laughing at us. We have been bragging 3,000, 4,000 statehood history, blah, 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 blah. Now we found ourselves back to barbarian age. Shame on us. And people of the world is laughing at us. And it's our responsibility, people's responsibility to stop it, not the government. We demand them. We don't beg them. That's my message. Thank you. Hello, my brother.
Okay,
I will continue this program.
Yeah, we started, and we just want to let know the audience that already there is a movement that's happening, whether we are online or offline. But occasionally we'll come and we will bring guests and people that are important, and we will make sure that the government is accountable, because there is when there is no free press, even though we're not journalists.
Right.
When there's no free press, when there are people do not understand dividing politics and the issue at hand and the future of the country, it forced us to come on air, and it forced us to be educators as well as the advocates, as well as so we continue, and WTV we will reinvigorate and push and raise the conscience of the people. That is our goal.
Raise the conscience of the people and united,
of course,
together.
And
that's why me and Yasin, the Somali and Amara, are fighting together. We want the other people to join us from different communities and bond together and discuss our issues, listen one another. That's what we started even 6 months ago. We interviewed the TPLF guys. We interviewed the Oromo Liberation Army representative. We interviewed the Mr. Mulatu Gamachu of OFECO. We interviewed from the Amara, what was the name of that, our friend? Yeah, no, it's a professional association guy. And we did. We even tried to
on the left
with the head of the Amara regional state, but he didn't accept our invitation. So would like to talk and resolve. This is our nation. This is our people. We don't want violence to rule the norm of the day, but we have to be strongly demand the government peaceful protests against the government. But if they don't listen to the people and try to kill the people the way they are doing now, well, we don't have any option but to defend ourselves. So don't push out towards that. Please, we all live in a certain years on this earth. Let's try to do good things for the good of the people and resolve our differences in a peaceful manner. And that's our message. And thank you very much, Mr. Yasin. I appreciate
Thank you
it.
again. We'll stop right there.
All right. Thank you, bro.